Charlie Kone. Right, devotees, so we're going on to part 2 of our little slideshow about the 7 original temples of Vrindavan. Yes, continuing on. First of all, it's Radha Damodar, then Radhasham Sundar, then Radha Gokulananda, and finally Radha Raman. So I hope you found it interesting last night. Photography and, doing these types of things, it's my hobby. Everyone needs a hobby, I think. Yeah. So here we go, everyone. Seven original temples of Vrindavan, part 2. Right. And there we are, look. We just arrived in the Radha Damodar temple. And this is Radha Damodar. Well, Damodar is sort of in the center. Radharani is on our right. And then Lalita is on our left. And on our far right is, I'll tell you the truth, I forget exactly who it is, but there's 4 sets of deities here. And normally they don't let you take photos, but anyway, we have our connections there. So let's just have different views. Oops, Radha Damodar, okay. Let's have a look at different views of the deities. Well, look at that. That's almost the whole altar. There are actually 4 sets, but there you can see 3, Radha Damodar with Lalita in the center. And on our left, gosh, I've been there so many times, but I still forget. Anyway, there's another set of Radha and Krishna. On our right is another set. And this is now the actual whole altar. And I think on the right is Radha Kalkichan. Anyway, forgive me, I can't remember exactly who's who, except for Radha Damodar. And you can see, they really get into it. See the facial decorations? It's amazing. And these are different outfits on different days. Yeah. You see, right. You see the decorations there, it's amazing, isn't it? And Nectar of Devotion describes how one time Srimati Radharani was looking at the face of one other gopi whose face had been decorated by Krishna. Same sort of idea, but Krishna did the decoration. And, wow, look at that. And Radharani said, "You're not very beautiful." This is an example of transcendental envy from Nectar of Devotion. You can look it up. That's what it is. Transcendental envy. Yeah, and so Radharani said, "You're not very beautiful. Look at your face. Krishna decorated your face. He was right in front of you, like a matter of some centimeters away. But because you're not very beautiful, he didn't become disturbed, you know, and sort of get a little dizzy from seeing her beauty. Look, it doesn't mean just her beauty, but her love was not so great, because otherwise Krishna gets overwhelmed by the love of the gopis, and his hands start shaking. And so then the decorations, you know, they go off and off and around and off and just all squiggly and off. That's what Nectar of Devotion says. And it's transcendental envy because it's not envy as we know it, but it's just Radharani is concerned that because you're not so beautiful, you didn't please Krishna so much, and that's not good. So anyway, there's Radharani. She's got nice decorations there. And, well, there's again the altar. You see, we took these photos on different days. And look, there is the famous Govardhan Shila, the only one, except for the one in Jaipur. So, yeah, and our friendly Pujari is pointing out, see, just by his finger, which is sticking out, is the footprint of Krishna. There you can see it. You see on the right, at the right end on the top, and just beneath it is the mark of the flute. And right up the top is the mark of Krishna's stick. And where those roses are there, the sort of the bottom slightly to the left, that is the footprint of a cow. That's what they say. And that's on the altar there at the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. And this is Srila Rupa Goswami. This is Srila Jiva Goswami. They say it's his samadhi just sort of around the corner from the main darshan area. And there, well, the altar is to the left. The entranceway is to the right. And up here, this is, well, on the far right, on the top there, that's Srila Prabhupada's room, like where he used to translate and work, and his bed is there. And then on the left is his kitchen and prasadam room. I'm sure you've been there, we've all been there. And so here we are now, we're in on the right. And this, I must admit, was taken a few years ago. There's Srila Prabhupada writing. His bed, they say it was his original bed, and the table that he's writing on, they say, was his original table. And you see the fan up top there. They say that is the original fan that was in the room. So there's Prabhupada with, they say, the original table. And now up, well, there's the fan that you can see. It's an old fan. It's an old fan. And they say it's from when Prabhupada was there. And then an interesting thing, if we look at this, what would you call it, this beam going across the ceiling, just immediately above the fan. This is interesting. On the left-hand side, let me just show you if I can. Yeah, look at that. That's on the left-hand side. You see, on the left there is this. And you know what this is? This is Srila Prabhupada's safe. This is Bridge Basi technology. Yeah, put your valuables in the ceiling, and then you can close it, and generally people wouldn't know. So that's there. And then that's Prabhupada's bed. You can't really see the bed, but they say it's the original bed. Then we go across to the kitchen and prasadam room. Now we're inside it. Across, we're looking back into Prabhupada's working room and bedroom. So here, again, these were taken a few years ago. But Prabhupada would sit on the right there where that asana is and where the picture is. And he'd look out through this window on the left at the samadhi, the back of the samadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami. And there is Srila Prabhupada actually taking prasadam right there. And then, well, you can't really see so much here, but through that sort of lattice work, you can see the back. Can you see it? Can you count a bit? The back of Srila Rupa Goswami's samadhi. And here, there's a special thing. This is called, what's it called? The writing's too small. Anyway, this is what they call a Vrajaraj temple. This is a temple. In it is dust, the dust of Vrindavan. It's called Vrajaraj. It's said there are 5 persons or 5 things in Vrindavan which are especially merciful and really help you in your Krishna consciousness. There's Govardhan, there's the Yamuna, then there's what comes next. Then there's Vrindadevi, then there's the dust, Vrajaraj, and number 5 is Gopishwar, Shiva. So this is a temple, and devotees come. You know, it used to be up to sort of the level of the top there, the black marble there, but people took so much dust, it's gone down, I don't know, at least a foot or more. Okay, so now devotees, we have quickly zipped over to Jaipur. We are in Jaipur again. And here is the original Radha Damodar. This original deity was carved by Srila Rupa Goswami personally and given as a gift to Srila Jiva Goswami. Just like yesterday, Madan Mohan was worshipped by Sanatana Goswami, Govinda by Rupa Goswami, Gopinath by Madhu Pandit, and Damodar was worshipped by Jiva Goswami. So, as far as we understand, this is the original Radha Damodar carved by Rupa Goswami and given as a gift to Jiva Goswami in the Radha Damodar temple in Jaipur. And there he is, looking very nice. And here we see the whole altar. Radha Damodar, who we just saw a moment ago, is right at the bottom, at the center, you see. He's just a very small deity. And the big deities on top, this is Radha Vrindavan Chandra, worshipped by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Really beautiful deities in the Radha Damodar temple in Jaipur. Srimati Radharani ki jai. And then just across, when you're looking at the altar, on your left is this collection of other deities. I don't know exactly the names. Looks like Lord Nrsingadev in the center. But there's some other deities. Because you know, in Radha Damodar we just saw, there are 4 sets of deities on the main altar. And although it's the Radha Damodar temple, and Radha Damodar and Lalita, they were the first ones. But then as other temples became unable to maintain the worship, they handed their deities over. So you get a few temples here and there in Vrindavan where there are multiple sets of deities because some temples just couldn't manage any longer. So they sort of closed up and handed the deities over to whichever temple. So, okay, so here we go, devotees. We are now at the Radha Shamsundar temple. That is just, if you're familiar with sort of the geography in the town of Vrindavan, just up the road from Radha Damodar, not maybe 100 meters or maybe less, 75 meters. On the same right-hand side is Radha Shamsundar. And you're not allowed, you're seriously not allowed to take photos, particularly if they catch you. But anyway, yeah, it's a little amusing, but I'll tell you what, they have a really nice website, and it's just got so many photos, really nice photos. This one of our devotees took. It's a really interesting place. So Radha Shamsundar, this is the original Radha Shamsundar, but they're not from 5,000 years ago like Madan Mohan, Govinda, Gopinath. They are from, well, they were made under the supervision of Baladeva Jabusha. So it means just sometime after Lord Chaitanya's time, like a generation or so after Lord Chaitanya's time. And here we see, these are photos I just downloaded from their site. And you can download them too. It's just open for everyone. And if you look carefully, I hope you can see it clearly enough, you'll see that the deities are just so beautiful. It's amazing. It is truly amazing. Yeah. And here's, now this little altar is just on our left when we're looking at the altar, the main altar. These deities are just to the left. Jagannath, and there's a Govardhan, Shila, and Radha and Krishna. And now here, devotees, there's a series of pictures on the wall, if you know where to look at least, describing or illustrating Shyamananda Pandit's sort of his life, at least very important incidents in his life. Here he is. I don't know if you can read it from there. It's difficult for me, but it says, sort of top left, Hriday Chaitanya Adhikari Thakur, and on the right it says Shyamananda Prabhu, And then it says, what is it? Falguna Holy Purnima Ko Hridai Chaitanya Adhikari Thakur. What is it? Davara? Does that make sense? Dwara, okay. Yeah, I can't see it very clearly. Or Ambika Kauna, K. Krishna, what is it? Krishna Mantra May Diksha. So Hridai Chaitanya, who's on our left, is initiating Shamananda Prabhu, Shamananda Pandit. Then Shamananda, now this is Shamananda on our right with the yellow clothes, and he's offering his obeisances to Srila Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan. He's just arrived, Shamananda, and he's going to join the school of Srila Jiva Goswami. And top left there is, first of all, on the far left is, Srinivas Acharya, and next to him is Narottam Thakur. And they were already in the school of Srila Jiva Goswami, being taught all about, the intricacies of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy and everything. And there's Jiva Goswami kneeling there on the right. And what does it say? Sri Jiva Goswami K. Nikat. Anyway, Bhakti Grant. Anyway, giving instructions on Raganuga Bhajan Shiksha. And then on the left, of course, you can see there's Srinivas on the far left, Narottam in the center, Shamananda is at the top there, and they're all being instructed by Srila Jiva Goswami. Yeah. And devotees and friends. Here's Shamananda at Radha Kund offering his dandavats to Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. And then on the left is Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So he went there and he visited Radha Kund and visited those great devotees. But, as a service, what he did was clean the forest. In those days, what we know as the sacred place of pilgrimage, Loy Bazaar, it was forest. It was forest. And, just off to the side of Loy Bazaar, more or less, is Seva Kunj, which is sort of kind of bushy or foresty a little bit to some degree. So he used to clean all around those areas. And one day, Shamananda Prabhu found, look, this very special looking nupur, an anklet that some girl, some young lady had somehow or other lost while in the forest. So he picked it up, and what I'll say now, there's not a picture for, but what happened was that Lalita came and asked him, and it's just forest. There's no Loy Bazaar. You can't even buy a limca. There was life before limcas. It was just forest. And, practically no people around. Suddenly this young girl just emerges out of the forest, it's Lalita, and says, what my girlfriend lost her anklet. did you find it? And Shamananda Prabhu said, yes, I think I did. And Lalita said, well, can you give it to me and I'll give it back to her? And Shamananda Prabhu said, no, nahi. Yeah. And he said, just take me to your girlfriend, I'll give it back to her personally. So you know what happened next? Something pretty amazing. There you can see Radharani, right? Sort of kind of in the center, sitting on the throne, and kneeling down. This is Shamananda Prabhu in his gopi form. In his gopi form, if you can read it, you'll see he's known as Kanaka Manjari. That's Shamananda Prabhu, his form. You know, Shamananda Prabhu in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, in the pastimes of Lord Krishna, he is Kanaka Manjari. And there's all the different Sakhis, there's only 7 of them anyway. There's, who is it? Indulekha, Champaklata, Lalita, Vishaka, Sudevi, Chitra Devi, who is it? Indulekha. Is it? No. Tungavijaya. So, this then is Shamananda in his gopi form as Kanaka Manjari, putting the anklet back on the lotus foot of Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani is so happy that she takes the anklet off, having, Kanaka Manjari put it on, but Radharani takes it off and presses it against her forehead, leaving a mark, like an impression on the forehead of Kanaka Manjari. Then what happened was, look at this, Radharani on our left and Lalita Devi in green gives a little deity of Krishna. This is the original Shamsundar, the big Shamsundar that we saw at the beginning. That was more recent, Baladev Vijayabhushan's time. But now, well, anyway, this is at the time, sort of same time, a little before Lord Chaitanya's time. So this is the original Shamsundar deity being given to Kanaka Manjari. And if you look carefully, you'll see the impression of the anklet, the nupur, is still in Kanaka Manjari's forehead. So, this little deity here, there he is, right in the middle. That's Shamsundar, given to Shamananda Pandit in his form as Kanaka Manjari, his Manjari form, while he was given by Radharani through Lalita to Shamananda. And this photo I just downloaded from their website. So these are different photos of that original little Shamsundar. And when you're there, when you're looking at the altar, this little sort of sub-altar is just to the right. Sometimes you have to sort of look around the corner of it to see the original Shamsundar. Really nice. And I tell you what, they really dress the deities up nicely. And across the road is the Samadhi of Shamananda Prabhu. So we go in, and there's the actual Samadhi deity, If you remember from yesterday, the Samadhi deity of Sanatana Goswami, you can see it's kind of the same style, comical sort of structure. That's the Samadhi deity of Shamananda. And this, devotees, this is where Shamananda is just by the Samadhi. This is where Shamananda or Kasturi Manjari received Radharani, pressed the anklet against her forehead, and it remained there, the impression, when Kanaka Manjari sort of Shamananda manifested himself again in his sort of regular male form. He found this tilak marking was still impressed in his forehead, if you get it. And this is the tilak marking today of the followers of Shamananda. They're sort of a sub-sampradaya. And it's Bengali, I can't read Bengali properly. But anyway, that's what it is. It's the tilak from the forehead with a dot in the center. Right, now, devotees, are you ready? Fasten your seatbelts. Give attention. Now we're going to the Radha Gokulananda temple. Yeah, it's near Radharaman. I'm sure. Put your hand up if you have been to the Radha Gokulananda temple. Okay. And you others, why you haven't been? What's the problem? What's your problem? No, you must go there. It's nice. Very historical. Sure. Radha Gokulananda. So in we go. And here, devotees, this is the main altar. Now, on our left, you see with the yellow face, that is Lord Chaitanya. It's a Pratibhu deity of Lord Chaitanya worshipped by Narottam Das Thakur. The original deity is in Kadiavan. I don't know if you're familiar, if you've been to Kadiavan and been inside and moved around. There, you go through the village a bit, there's a Kund, Kishori Kund, and there is a temple there where there is the original deity of Lord Chaitanya, worshipped by Narottam Das Thakur. Then in the center, those are Pratibhu deities of Radha Vinod, worshipped by Lokanath Goswami. Then on our right, the big deities, Radha Vijay Govinda, worshipped by Baladev Vijayabhushan. And right in the front, it may be very difficult to see clearly, right in the front, kind of center, is Gokulananda. He doesn't have a Radharani deity with him, but that's Gokulananda. He was worshipped by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and just on his right is the Govardhan Shila of Lord Chaitanya, worshipped by Lord Chaitanya. So let's have a look. There's Gokulananda, worshipped by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And here, back to the altar anyway. Yes. But here, this is Radha Vinod. That's Vinod. And that's Lord Chaitanya, Pratibhu deity of Narottam Das. And here is Lord Chaitanya's Govardhan Shila. And Lord Chaitanya would bathe this Shila with his tears and then massage him with his thumb And he applied so much pressure when he massaged the Shila with his thumb that it made an indentation, as you can see, in the top of the Shila. And after a while, he gave the Shila to Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. And Lord Chaitanya, he would offer tulsi, like tulsi manjaris, and sweets. He'd offer sweets to his Govardhan Shila. Now, just outside the temple, within the grounds, just opposite the doorway into the actual temple itself, is the Samadhi garden. And this is both Bhajan Kutia and Samadhi of Lokanath Goswami. Lokanath Goswami was an associate of Lord Chaitanya's, and he and Bhugaba Goswami, they were the first ones to be sent by Lord Chaitanya to Vrindavan to uncover the holy places, the pastime places. Yeah, Lokanath and Bhugaba. And Lokanath, he actually was in Kadiavan. Yeah. And while he was there, one Brijbasi boy just suddenly apparently appeared practically out of nowhere with the deity of Vinod, and just no Radharani, but just gave Krishna to Lokanath Goswami and vanished. And then the deity spoke to Lokanath and said, "Feed me. I've been watching you for some days, and I wanted to come to you. Now you must feed me." So Lokanath quickly prepared a nice sabji of aloo and gobi with some Brijbasi roti for Vinod. But here there's other samadhis also. This is Narottam Das Thakur's samadhi. This is interesting. I mean, it's all very interesting, but this is the samadhi of Ganganarayan Chakravarti. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was the main disciple of Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das, yeah. And it's a very interesting story. Listen to this. Listen to this. Ganganarayan Chakravarti was from a very traditional Brahmin family, from Keturi, where Narottam Das was brought up. So Narottam went to Vrindavan. We saw those pictures. Then after a while he came back to Keturi and started preaching in that area. And when he was preaching, he was such a powerful preacher, such an amazing preacher. Many people became his disciples. He was actually a Kshatriya. And in those days, the people took these things, caste. They took these things really seriously. So he was, in fact, his brother became the king of the area. So he was from like a very traditional Kshatriya family. But some Brahmins became his disciples, including Ganganarayan Chakravarti. So one big scholar, Rupa Narayan, this big scholar heard about this Narottam, who's a Kshatriya, but he's initiating Brahmins. and you know, being in very traditional caste consciousness, he thought, this is no good. A lowly Kshatriya thinks he can initiate Brahmins. So this Rupnarayan, he came and he thought, I will debate with Narottam and I will completely defeat him and just show everyone that the Brahmins are the best. And a lowly Kshatriya cannot initiate Brahmins. So he would come on an elephant, he would travel on an elephant with a whole entourage. And when Ganganarayan Chakravarti and some of his associates, Brahmins, but they're disciples of Narottam Das, born Brahmins, when they heard they coming, they devised a special strategy. You know what they did? They all went out onto the main road, just where it starts entering the town. And there was a number of little shopkeepers with their little shops, you know, just tiny little setups. And so they asked those shopkeepers, can we look after your shops for the time being? And of course, everybody knew everybody there, so the shopkeepers said, sure, no problem, and took a break. And now these Brahmin disciples of Narottam are sitting in the shops, like they're the little shopkeepers. And in came the big Rupnarayan, the big, they used to call them Digvijay, scholar, conqueror in all the directions, came in with all his Brahmin associates, and one of the associates went up to one of the shopkeepers, who's actually, you know, highly educated Brahmin and great devotee, and in simple Bengali language said, where can we find Narottam? And the devotee, in perfect Sanskrit, answered, what do you want to see Narottam for? And this took the Brahmin aback, because he thought this is just some simple little foolish little village fellow. But now he's speaking perfect Sanskrit. And then the other shopkeepers, who are actually Brahmin disciples of Narottam, they also came over and said, yeah, what do you want to speak to Narottam for? Speaking to the different associates of Rupnarayan. And they said, well, you know, we want to debate philosophy. And the devotee said, what philosophy do you want to debate? And then they started debating with them, and completely didn't just defeat them, completely destroyed them, made idiots of them. And Rupnarayan sitting on the elephant listening to this, and they're just completely overwhelmed and bewildered. And in the end they asked the little, so-called little shopkeepers, where did you learn all this from? And they all said, from Narottam. He's waiting for you. We're just his students. But they thought, gosh, if the students are like this, then what's Narottam like? They all turned around and left town. Except for Rupnarayan, he came and surrendered to Narottam and became his disciple. And that's just a little story about Ganganarayan Chakravarti. So this is the Pushpa Samadhi of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And this is now rather than known in Jaipur, and this is the original Vinod worshipped by Lokanath Goswami, which was given to him that day when he had just arrived in Kadiravan, and started speaking to him. And he's small. If you've been there, you know he's sort of like this size kind of thing. And of course, initially, as with all the other deities, there was no Radharani. So what he did, Lokanath, he made kind of like a big bead bag or something along those lines. And he would go around chanting japa with his hand in the bag, but the deity of Vinod was in the bag. No japa beads. And he'd just walk around chanting japa, massaging Vinod. Yeah. At least some other little shilas there. Right. Here we go. This is our last stop, devotees. This, of course, is the Radha Raman temple. Very popular and quite nice. And very nice, actually. Prabhupada appreciated their deity worship. So, as you can see on the left, that's Krishna. And on the right is, you see where there's a little crown, or there's a garland and various things. That Radharani is there. You can see Radharani? Yes?
No.
Yes?
No.
No. Well, you could, if you got spiritual eyes, you could see Radharani. She's there. But if you haven't got spiritual eyes, you can't see her. But they put her paraphernalia there. It's a sari, actually, a garland and a crown and some other jewelry and so on. So here we are, we're arriving. In we go. Now, actually, just to the left here, about maybe 25 meters to the left and on the right hand, the same side that the temple's on, is the place where Radha Raman manifested. Because actually, Radha Raman was worshipped by Gopal Bhatta Goswami of the 6 Goswamis. But initially, he had Shalagram Shilas. Actually, Lord Chaitanya instructed him, go to Nepal and go to the Gandaki River and go in and get Shalagram Shilas, and you worship Shalagram Shilas. So he did that. He walked all the way up, got some Shilas, I think 9 Shilas, including one big Shila, and brought them back. I mean, it's a bit of a long story. And he worshipped them, particularly the big Shila was his main Shila. But he saw the other Goswamis and his associates, like Madhu Pandit was one of that sort of group surrounding the 6 Goswamis. They all had personal deities. I mean, just in obvious human-looking forms. But he had these, so to speak, rocks. And occasionally people would come by and give something and say, buy some cloth and use it for your deity, not knowing that he had Shilas. He didn't have a deity, to dress up. And then one time, it was the day before, if I remember correctly, the day before Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day, or maybe it was 2 days before, came and gave him some really beautiful cloth and said, I really want you to use this for your deity. So he was lamenting that, look, I've got this beautiful cloth, but, it hardly seems, like the nicest thing at least, to just use it on Sheilas. And he thought, I wish I could have a deity like Rupa and Sanatan do and Madhu Pandit does. And he thought, I would like a deity who has the hips of Madan Mohan, who has the chest of Govinda and the face of Gopinath. That's what I'd like. And he prayed like that dear Lord Krishna, in your form as Nishingadev, you came out of a rock, a pillar made of rock. So you can come out of these rocks, or particularly the big rock or the big Shila. You can come out in a personal form. You can do it. So please do it. And next morning he woke up, and at this very place, right here, the big Shila had transformed into Radharaman. Yeah. Very, very outstanding deity. Oh, this is the Samadhi of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and there's some Shilas there. But back into the temple. Okay, back into the temple. So here we are having darshan. And there is Radharaman. And, if you look at him, you'll see he's in a very sporty mood here. He's got shorts on, but you can see his hips, ready for action. His chest, pronounced chest. This is on his appearance day during the festival they have. And his face, so beautiful, really outstanding deity, and extremely popular. So here we have basically just a series of photos of Radharaman. And if you look carefully, then you can see, if you catch the light in the right way, then you see his little teeth. You see his teeth? Yeah. You see his little teeth a bit there. And there you go, devotees. That's our visit to we've been to all the main temples, the original temples at least, of Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. I paid him £10 to start clapping. All right, devotees. What's the time? So I hope you found it interesting. I think it's basically nice. Anyone got any questions, comments, corrections? And just a sec. One lady last night, I don't know if she's here, mentioned about the bent flute, or broken, or it's bent actually, flute of Madan Mohan. So yeah, I did some research, Dina Bandhu Prabhu, maybe, yeah. And the thing is that, maybe I show you. Let me just show you. Let me show you. The thing is that, as we mentioned, the one, the one princess was going to be married to the prince of Karoli, but she wanted to that Madan. She was very attached to Madan Mohan, and she wanted that he would come to Karoli with her. So, devotees, what to do? What should I do? Yes. Right, that's Madan Mohan. So, her father or somebody said, oh no, actually in a dream, Madan Mohan appeared and said, listen, well, there was the arrangement, there was a number of deities there. She had to choose which one, she's blindfolded, choose which one is Madan Mohan, then she could take him. So Madan Mohan appeared in a dream and told her that I will bend my flute. And so all you have to do is, just feel the flutes, because they're all different deities of Krishna. And then, when you find the bent one, then you know it's me. So, there, can you see how the flute is bent at the end? And that's how he is every day. They use flutes like this. They slip the flute in through the hands, but it can only go as far as where it's bent. Otherwise, it can't get through. So there you go. That's the story of the bent flute. So she came in blindfolded and just sort of feeling around, and then she felt the bent flute. Said, yes, Madan Mohan. And so Madan Mohan went to Karoli. So, okay, comments or questions or whatever is Prabhu.
Thank you, Maharaj. In your presentation, you mentioned the phrase sub-sampradaya.
Sub-sampradaya.
What is the definition of that? Does it mean there are more than four?
No, it's just a it's a particular group of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. They follow Shyamananda and they use his tilak. That style of tilak, you remember we saw? It's just on the forehead with a dot. And so they're like a sampradaya within the Gaudiya Vaishnava sampradaya. Yeah. I mean, in the same sense, you could say, like, we are followers of Prabhupada, or, like from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or followers of Prabhupada. So we're a subgroup, we're a specific group. And then, you get different Gaudiya maths, and they are subgroups, I guess you'd say. And then you get, the caste Brahmins, the caste Goswamis, the Babajis. They're all like subgroups within the Gaudiya Vaishnava line. So that's the point. They have their particular. I mean, we may not agree with many of them about certain important points, but they are, and they certainly regard themselves as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Yeah. So Shyamananda, his group, is a particular group, and they follow him. And their headquarters is at the Shamsunda temple there. that okay? Prabhu.
Sure. So I noticed that the Radha Shamsundar temple, so the name of the temple in Vrindavan is written in, I think, English, Hindi and Bengali.
Yes.
But the Radha Shamsundar, I also noticed it was written in Odia, the language spoken in Odisha.
Where was that?
The Radha Shamsundar temple.
Radha Shamsundar.
And if I remember correctly, when I went to Vrindavan in 2019, I saw some books being distributed in Orissa as well. Is there any connection to Orissa?
To Orissa? Well, Lord Chaitanya spent time in Orissa, of course. And there's an easier way. Oh, here.
Yeah, the photo.
There's Orissa, Oriya. There's connections. Gaudiya Vaishnavism, like Lord Nityananda and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when they spread their Namahata movements, it was mainly in Bengal, but they also went down into Orissa, at least northern Orissa. So there is, an Oriya subdivision of our Sampradaya. And Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he was from such an upbringing. He was from Orissa and brought up in a Vaishnava family. Am I addressing your point?
Yes, so my question specifically was why just this temple has the name mentioned in Oriya and not the other ones?
The other temples?
Yeah.
Well, each temple's independent. Yeah, they're definitely independent of each other. So I guess they just decided to do it like that. I never asked them. You could ask them when you go there. But I'm sure, you get not a huge amount, but you get enough Oriya people coming to Vrindavan who they're Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So that is just, to identify the temple for them. In other words, I don't think that there's a particular connection with Orissa in the Radhasham Sundar temple, which isn't there in the other temples. I don't think that's the case. I'm not aware of it being the case. I think it's just for information's sake, for visiting devotees. Yes, Vrinda Devi Dasi.
Maharaj, please, can you tell us a bit more about Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, please, and who he was in the spiritual world?
I can't remember which of the Manjaris he is, but he's one of them. He's one. I could always look it up, but it would take a few minutes probably to find. But he's one of the Manjaris, and he's a great devotee. He wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he was very close with Lord Chaitanya. He was very close with the 6 Goswamis. Yeah. And because he was Kaviraj, he was a poet. He was like a very literary person. Therefore, he was asked to write Chaitanya Charitamrita. Or just, he was asked to write a biography of Lord Chaitanya, which was eventually named Chaitanya Charitamrita. And, his brother, whose name I forget, his brother, Chaitanya Charitamrita says, had great faith in Lord Chaitanya, but not so much faith in Lord Nityananda. Yeah, so he wasn't really respectful towards Lord Nityananda. And one of the great devotees, Minikaitan Ramdas, when he understood that, he went over to that there was sort of like a festival going on. And he went over to the brother of Krishnadas, Kaviraj Goswami, and very angry, he broke his flute. And then his Krishnadas Kaviraj's brother, he says, fell down. I mean, there's a whole biography if you really want to get into details about his upbringing and everything. Mataji, Hare Krishna, Mataji. What do they call you? Hare Krishna lady.
Yes.
Right. How can I serve you?
Thank you, Maharaj, for giving us insight into transcendental Western journey. I have a question you mentioned about transcendental envy. Can you please elaborate on that, and also the difference between the transcendental envy and the materialistic envy?
Yeah, well, you know, it's just from Nectar of Devotion, but it's from the second side of the ocean, the southern side. We normally focus on the first 19 chapters, is it, or 18? 19 chapters is the eastern side of the ocean. Then the next about 18 chapters or thereabouts is the southern side of the ocean, and it's dealing with different types, different bhavas, different ecstasies. And somewhere there, in that section, or maybe it's the third section, there's a description of transcendental anger, transcendental envy, transcendental pride, these types of things, but they're transcendental. So the example which Prabhupada, Rupa Goswami, which they give, or one of the examples, is what I mentioned, that Radharani sort of chastised that gopi, that you're not very beautiful, because when Krishna was really close to you, he didn't become affected by your beauty and sort of start making mistakes in doing his decorations of your face. So therefore you're not very beautiful. But what it doesn't just mean like you're not very beautiful. It means that you did not please Krishna. Because if you had pleased Krishna, his hands would have started shaking like that, and he wouldn't have been able to do the decoration nicely. He would have made mistakes, and there would have been different splodges and things like that. I remember being the treasurer in Seven Berry Place in 1973, and we would sleep 5 hours a night was the norm, 10:30 to 3:30. And therefore, when I was doing the accounts, I would fall asleep while writing. And so you would see the pen, I'd fall asleep, the pen would go off. So there'd be these streaks across the pages. So yes, smudges, streaks and things were not on that gopi's face. So therefore Radharani was dissatisfied. You didn't please Krishna. If you had, he would have messed up the decoration. So it's not good. So that's transcendental envy. It's not just, you're not beautiful, or I'm more beautiful than you, or something like that. It's transcendental. Transcendental pride. I have the best Lord. He's better than anybody else's Lord. It's transcendental pride. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Devotees. Anyone else? Corrections, chastisements. Mataji?
Maharaj, you mentioned about that Prabhupada okayed or accepted with the Sri Radharaman worshipping. Can you please?
Yeah, he appreciated it, and he did say that devotees could learn from them. You know, having said that, their standards, I mean, they're kind of flexible with the times of the artis, and Prabhupada was not flexible with that sort of thing. You know, there's one story, I don't know if it's in Leela Rita, but just a couple of Prabhupada stayed on some few weeks after the Krishna Balaram temple was opened and checking on everything. So one morning he was there for the deity greeting, and he asked, he was standing next to the temple president waiting, and he said, "What's the time?" Temple president said, 7:15, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, "And how many seconds?" And the temple president said, 30 seconds, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, "You are 30 seconds late." Radharaman, they're not so, you know, they're not so particular, or however you put it. And you know, interesting little story, you may well be familiar with it, that one lady devotee, I won't mention her name, but she was with Prabhupada just shortly after the opening of Krishna Balaram temple. And Prabhupada took them, a group of them, down to Radharaman. And with this idea, you know, you can learn some things. And Prabhupada pointed out the conch shell eyes. If you looked carefully, you see, he always wears conch shell eyes. I think always, pretty much. So Prabhupada just sort of, you know, not like really to make a point, we should get conch shell eyes for the deities. He just said, you know, conch shell eyes, they might be nice on Shamsundar in the Krishna Balaram temple. Just kind of mentioned it more or less in passing. But this lady, she really got the idea. Prabhupada wants that Shamsundar in our Krishna Balaram temple will have conch shell eyes. So, you know, some days later, Prabhupada had not said anything more. A few days later, she said, Prabhupada, should we get some conch shell eyes for Shamsundar? And Prabhupada just sort of said, no, he looks nice the way he is. Some days later, she asked again. She just had a thing about it. Should we get some conch shell eyes? And Prabhupada again was sort of casual. No, it's okay, sort of thing. Then as I heard it from the lady herself, a third time she asked, and Srila Prabhupada got really quite angry. Because each time he had said, he looks fine with his sort of, you know, painted eyes. So finally Prabhupada said, I am Prabhupada, and I am telling you, she looks nice the way, he looks nice the way he is. She told that story once in Los Angeles. They were having a Prabhupada. Maybe it was like Vyasa Puja or Prabhupada's disappearance or a Prabhupada festival. And there was a competition. There were many Prabhupada disciples there. There was a competition. Who got chastised the most heavily by Prabhupada? And she won. She won. There was a vote. And she won. She got the most heavily chastised. I am Prabhupada, and I am saying he looks fine the way he is. I mean, I can't imitate Prabhupada, but you get the idea. Yes, Mataji.
Maharaj, I just wanted to ask about the Bhakti Devi temple. Vishnu Prabhupada mentioned about Bhakti Devi temple.
Oh, Bhakti Bihari. Not much. You know, he did mention how, they open and close. Because it's sort of slightly different line, or Haridas, Swami Haridas. A little bit different. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you've been there, it's extremely popular, and it's all kind of, opening, closing, it's a bit fun. But it started off that Haridas would go out to collect food, and the deity would come out to find him. And sometimes the deity would get lost, and Haridas would have to go out and find the deity. So therefore, he would close the door. So therefore, they open, you can have darshan, then he closes, just in case he's going to go running out, looking for Haridas. But Prabhupada, I mean, you can look in the database, it's interesting. You could have a look, but I'm certainly not aware that Prabhupada, got into it like he did with these other deities. Prabhu. Very well.
Yesterday you mentioned the story of Uttara when she acknowledged Mother Mohan Govinda and Gopinath.
Right.
And today you mentioned about Gopal Bhatt, how he wished for the hips, the chest, and then the face. So do we understand Gopinath to be the closest manifestation, representation of Krishna, or Radha?
Oh. Well, Gopinath is taken to be the highest form. But Radharaman, it's sort of like you might say, as they say, a Rasika type of consideration. He's said to be like a combination of the three. Yeah. So it's very special, but I wouldn't say that we should think that he's higher than Gopinath. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, look, wait. A minute.
Can you have some stories about South Africa, Russia? What's happening in Iraq?
Oh.
Do you have any pictures of them on the screen?
I don't have any pictures with me. But it's nice. It's nice, Rathi. We didn't have it during COVID, of course. And we did have it this year. This year we had first time after COVID, but only for one day. Normally we have for 4 days. The Easter festival, a holiday thing. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's a national holiday in South Africa for 4 days, more or less. So we have it for 4 days, and big procession, and it's a big thing. It's not a small thing at all. Probably we serve, put it this way, between maybe around 150,000 plates of prasadam over the 4 days. Something like that. Yeah. And it's a great festival. They're giving away, just tons, literally, of prasadam. And quite nice. They do vegetarian biryani and dal, salad, halava, and some sort of like an orange drink type of thing. But then you can buy prasadam. You can buy pizza. There's a pizza tent, a chips tent, an ice cream tent. There's a tent, I mean a big tent, maybe not as big as this room, but it's big, which is an a la carte restaurant. You can sit down and order different items. And a big tent for 2,000 or 3,000 people, and probably I think there's about 30 other tents with different things. Children's tent, big children's tent, and so on. And car park right next to it. So it's very convenient. Near the beach. Durban's on the beach, on the coast. Come along. Next year, as I understand, next year we'll go back to the full 4-day festival. Nice festival. I've been for Rath Yatra here in Leicester. Twice I came. You also have a nice Rath Yatra festival.
How many tracks?
3. And then on the Monday night, we have sort of like a return Rath Yatra, which is nice at night.
What city are you talking about?
Durban, South Africa. Yeah.
What deities have they got in?
Sorry?
What deities have they got in the temple?
What?
Deities.
Oh, deities. Well, there are 2 big temples. The older temple was opened in 1985. There's Radha Radhana with Lord Chaitanya and Big Govardhan Shila. Then on the other side of the city, still within the city, is a more recent temple. It was opened, I think it was 2000. And the temple room is bigger. And there they have Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. The 2 big temples in the one city. It's a moderate-sized city. It's not that big. I think it's 3 million people. How many people in Leicester?
350.
350. Okay, so it's considerably bigger than Leicester. But you're all welcome. Okay, come down, and we'll have a party for Rath Yatra. Yeah, right by the seaside, you can go surfing. Oh yes, oh yes. Every day, Harinam goes out. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.